All right, back at the Airstream trailer. Now, thus far, this being the third episode we shot, we had not shot anything yet inside our interior set that was built for the inside of the Airstream trailer. But that's coming up in the next episode. Okay, you're seeing a box of cereal on the table there, and the name of the cereal is Bits and Pieces. It's a fake cereal box. It's a prop, just so they don't have to feature any real brand of cereal in scenes like this. I think there's a prop house, or there are a lot of prop houses maybe around Los Angeles where you can order things like this, a fake brand of cereal that you can put in a movie or a TV show. So Bits and Pieces. I think the props guys actually filled up the box with Lucky Charms, but throughout the throughout the run of the show, we often had the box of Bits and Pieces cereal, which actually had Lucky Charms inside. All right, so here we reveal that the character, played by Michael Gross, is wheelchair bound, and that comes into play later in the plot line as well. As far as the dialogue going on here, he says, "Hey, I've seen what you did on the basketball court, and your game needs work, and so I'm gonna have you do what I tell you to do to learn the fundamentals of basketball, and you got to do it my way or not. But if you agree to do it my way, you're going to get better at basketball. So so this is the little scene they have here. Now, I need to admit that when we shot this episode, for about half of the days that we were shooting, I was not there. The reason was that I went to Chicago for a wedding. A friend of mine that I grew up with out in that area was getting married, so I went to Ann's wedding, and so I was gone. That was already scheduled. I was going to do that before I got hired to do the Promised Land show. But most of the time, I'd say for the rest of the run of the series, there were very few days, probably I could count on one hand the number of days when they were shooting and they needed me, or they would have needed me, but I was not available. But for this particular episode, because I was going to the wedding already, as I said, I wasn't there. So some of my memories may be unclear. And I wouldn't have been in this scene anyway, perhaps because I was standing in for Gerald McRaney. So I wouldn't have been there. I might have had a day off because he wasn't in this scene. However, because they had all these other guys, I might have been a stand-in for one of these other guys, and I might have worked anyway. But I was in Chicago. All these other guys are supposed to be teenagers, and in real life at this time, our actor Austin O'Brien that you see there playing Josh was 15 years old. But typically, when they want to have young guys, like high school age guys, in a scene like this, they might hire actors that look young enough to be in high school, but are actually 18 years old. That makes it easier for them to handle, like child labor laws and schedules and stuff like that. If they can get 18-year-old guys, there's more flexibility. So I think all these other guys that you see palling around with Josh, the actors, are actually 18. And it's a little bit obvious on a couple of guys. I mean, you can almost see them starting to lose their hair, like, probably like college-age guys, but that's kind of funny to me. All right, so here Dinah has made a friend, another girl who thinks that she has, body issues, and they're both telling each other, "Oh no, you're fine, you're skinny. I'm the one who needs help with, getting in shape. Oh no, not you, it's me." So anyway, now we get to see some of the dance class here, and Nathaniel is going to get a little bit mischievous as the girls are doing their dance class things. This little montage here that they did where Russell and Claire are looking around. They've decided that maybe the person who wrote the letter to the editor is some sort of teacher. So they're going around to different schools, knocking on doors, and trying to ask around and see if anyone can figure out who this guy is. And for a lot of this stuff that you see in the montage where it's just Russell and Claire out there, we had a very small crew that we just went around quickly to a couple of places, maybe while the rest of the crew was busy somewhere else, and shot just with the camera, second unit director or an assistant director or something, and maybe one makeup artist and one wardrobe person just to make sure people were wearing the right clothes, and so we did that little montage this way. There's no sound, for example. When you see Russell and Claire talking to people, we didn't have a sound guy there because they knew it was just going to be used for a montage. Hey, speaking of sound on the Promised Land show, our sound guy was Earl. And Earl had a yellow van that he called the Twinkie. And he'd keep all of his sound equipment in the Twinkie. And when we went to film anywhere, Earl would try to park the Twinkie as close to the set as possible, so he wasn't having to haul his sound equipment around very much. So you will actually see a cameo appearance by the Twinkie in this episode coming up soon. All right, what you're seeing here is Claire and Russell have gone to the youth center to see what Josh is up to, and they're going to figure out here in just a moment, by looking around at some of the clues and having read carefully this letter to the editor, that, wait a minute, this guy here that runs the youth center that's in a wheelchair seems to have a lot of the characteristics of the person who wrote the letter to the editor. Have we actually found the guy who made us want to stop in this town and talk to the guy? I think this is the guy. So they figured it out. And at this point, okay, the lights just went out. What we've come to realize is that the youth center is about to be shut down, and the city has not paid the electric bill, so they've actually disconnected the power to the youth center, and they're about to officially go completely out of business. I feel sorry for the guy in this scene who plays the guy from the electric company, because I'm pretty sure it's one of our local guys who usually works as an extra, and in this case he would be a featured extra. But he has no dialogue in the scene, so all these other people around him have dialogue, and they're all talking about him or maybe even talking to him, and yet the guy with the clipboard there who's portraying the electric company guy who just disconnected the power can't say anything because he's an extra. He has no lines. He has to do a performance with nothing to say in the scene. Anyway, here comes the drama as they're finally confronting this guy, saying, "Hey, we know you're the guy who wrote the letter to the editor." Now, they've dressed up the school to look like, or the youth center, if you say, to look like it's kind of run down. It's been vandalized, it's in the midst of going out of business anyway. And of course, a lot of that stuff was done by our art department. I don't think this place had actually been vandalized or had graffiti and stuff like that before we got there. And so, well, what happens? Our art department, these guys are experts. So what they can do is maybe prepare some panels that they can hang over the wall, the real wall. Maybe just some thin boards that then have some sort of stucco-like material over the top of them. So they can cover a wall with something like that. It looks like it's still part of the original wall, and then they can spray paint or vandalize, this set piece that they've actually stuck over the wall. Or, they can get paint that is water soluble and very easy to clean up, and they create graffiti and stuff like that. These guys are experts. I've seen them, trash a place and then clean it up the next day, and it looks exactly, like it did before any of them tampered with it. So it's fun to see some of the work they were able to do on this show. All right, so here we are back again, and this is one of the office spaces in the real Columbus School building. Not a set that had been built. So you get a little bit of depth. You can see in the background, you can see a hallway. And again, just a nice little dramatic scene here. I I might have been able to be a stand-in for Michael Gross on a scene like this, even though I was normally a stand-in for Gerald McRaney, but he's not in the scene. I was a pretty good match for the size, stature of Michael Gross. I could have been sitting in that wheelchair being a stand-in, but I think, again, this was one of the days when I was in the Chicago area. Chicago has a lot of nice attractions. In fact, when they were filming this scene, I was probably at the Museum of Science and Industry on the south side of Chicago. A lot of great attractions there. They've got a full-size Boeing 727 on display. You can go in and pretend you're on a flight somewhere. I went and saw an IMAX movie in their OmniMax theater at the Museum of Science and Industry. So that's what I was doing while they were shooting this scene, probably. Or I might have been visiting the Willis Tower, which at the time was called the Sears Tower. The Sears Tower is, at the time, was the tallest building in North America. It's 1,454 feet from the street level up to the top of the building. It's 110 stories tall, the Sears Tower. I still call it the Sears Tower. The top 7 floors are devoted to, mechanical support for the building. So the observation deck, where the public can go, is up on the 103rd floor. So you go up on the 103rd floor of the Sears Tower, and you got a great view looking out over Lake Michigan. You look to the west, see the suburbs, O'Hare Airport. Oh, did you want me to talk about the Promised Land show? Okay, so when I wasn't at Anne's wedding, working on this episode, our director was a man by the name of Victor Lobel. He had also directed episode 101, The Motel was the name of that episode, and it starred, the guest star was Marion Ross. So I have a commentary that I did on that episode. He came back again. So he did 101, then he didn't do the next one, but then back again. So every other episode. And then he didn't do the one after this, but he did do the one after that. So the first 3 odd-numbered episodes, that was Victor Lobel's work. And again, did a great job guiding this particular episode, which seemed to capture the spirit of what the Promised Land show was all about. In this scene, these 2 girls have showed up for the dance class again, and they see the lights are all out, and they're wondering, hey, what are we going to do? We really like this dance class after all. We want to do this interpretive dance. And the woman says, well, there's nothing I can do. We have no power. But tell you what, if you guys want to just have the class outside, in the yard there, you can do that, and that's okay. And so they say, oh, that's cool. Yeah, we want to do that. All right, so here's Russell. He's gone to talk to the sheriff who's running for re-election. And the scene is being shot in downtown Ogden, Utah on Washington Boulevard between 25th and 26th Streets. So they're right in front of what used to be kind of one of the main municipal buildings there in Ogden. There, city offices and courthouse and things like that were all inside that building. In fact, just maybe 3 or 4 years before this happened, I actually had jury duty in that building. I was there for half a day. I didn't actually serve on that jury, but I was there for the whole morning and went through the jury selection process and then didn't get selected for the final jury. But that's Ogden, Utah. And again, this is the middle of August, 1996. When I was in Chicago was getting ready to host the 1996 Democrat National Convention, where they were going to renominate Bill Clinton and Al Gore for the presidential candidates for the Democrat Party. Previous to that, Chicago had hosted the Democrat Convention in 1968. And in 1968, there was some trouble at that convention, police beating up protesters and stuff like that. So that was the notorious thing about the 1968 convention. The notorious thing about the 1996 convention was Al Gore doing the Macarena. Okay, a moment ago, you just saw, if you want to back it up, the yellow van that drove by. That was the Twinkie that I talked about. Our sound guy, Earl, that was his van where he kept all his sound equipment. And so the Twinkie got a nice little cameo appearance in this episode. That was fun. It's just funny to think about the Twinkie. You know, the next year he got a new van, similar, but you know, newer, and it was white with, you know, some two-tone paint. But they still called the new van the Twinkie, and that's where Earl kept all of his sound gear. Before the Promised Land series, Earl worked. He worked on a lot of movies and TV shows. You know, over a long period, had a long career. But one of the movies he worked on just a few years before this was Dumb and Dumber, which was shot almost all of it in the Salt Lake City area. So when Earl worked on Dumb and Dumber, that was the first movie by the Farrelly brothers, and he continued to work with them on a lot of movies. And so actually about midway through the run of Promised Land, Earl left the show to go work on a movie called There's Something About Mary. Yeah, with Ben Stiller and Cameron Diaz. So, you know, weird little Hollywood connections there. Earl the Sound Man worked on Promised Land, drove the Twinkie, and, you know, midway through the next season, worked on There's Something About Mary. And so we got a new sound guy that stayed with us through the rest of the run. But we still saw Earl here and there on other shows over the years. And, quite the character, Earl. He would sit in the Twinkie and send his boom operator out. You know, sometimes like you wouldn't see Earl. He'd be in the Twinkie with the sound recorder and just have like cables running out of the Twinkie. He would just stay in the nice warm Twinkie while we were out freezing in different locations and stuff. Earl, quite the character. But anyway, yeah, we got good sound on the show, so that made it nice. All right, so, okay, here we are back in the gym, and the guys in this scene have broken into the gym, and they're going to play basketball, but they're also frustrated and angry, and so they're going to kind of trash the place as well. And Josh is not comfortable with the idea of what they're going to do here. Hey, guys, this isn't the right thing to do. Let's not do this. And the guys are like, oh, come on. You know. So here they start beating up the place. Again, and they're using the spray paint and things that can be easily cleaned up, provided by our art department. And we didn't actually, as I recall, I don't think we waited until night to shoot this scene. I think they just put some large cloths around the windows there and then directed a few lights through the window to make it look like it's the middle of the night. But I don't think we actually waited till the middle of night to shoot this interior scene. We just manipulated the light coming through the windows, and busted.